Because I donated a kidney to my wife Isabella, I couldn't meet her needs. As a result, she filed for divorce to be with her childhood friend Alexander. I agreed and immediately signed the divorce agreement. In my previous life, I was willing to accept physical changes to satisfy Isabella. I always kept ice cubes in my mouth, just to provide her with the best experience at any time. However, I didn't expect that because I refused to step aside. Her childhood friend Alexander chose to commit suicide. Isabella subjected me to even harsher electric shocks, causing me to lose sensation in half of my body. My daughter Sophia also found me embarrassing, put drugs in my food, and watched me fall in pain. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day she filed for divorce. As I came out of the study, I saw Isabella returning from the welcome party, being carried by the drunken Alexander, with our daughter Sophia behind them. Alexander was giving me orders as if I were a servant, completely ignoring that Isabella was uncomfortable from drinking too much, and he didn't hurry to make her a hangover soup, which was truly disappointing. I saw the clear hickeys on Isabella's neck and was momentarily stunned. Sophia got angry when she saw me not speaking. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear Dad Alexander talking? Quickly go make some hangover soup. After she finished speaking, she glanced at Alexander, received his response, and smiled. I held the bank card that Father Shin gave me and lowered my head, replying with a good. Father Shin spent money to take care of them, so consider it my gratitude. I quietly walked into the kitchen, and when I came out, I heard Isabella and Alexander laughing inside. Oh, just scrub my back. Don't go any further. Isabella sounded a bit shy. When I was helping you scrub, I felt some small hard lumps on your back and thought they were dirt. Really, that's not dirt. Pay attention while scrubbing and don't mess around. When you was still outside, but her tone still revealed a hint of excitement. Listening to their playful banter, I couldn't help but recall past events. In my previous life after I died, I realized that Isabella was with me just to get me to give my kidney to her good friend Alexander. And her pretending not to see was also to be with Alexander without any burdens. Throughout this whole affair, I've actually been nothing but a tool being used. I'm not interested in listening anymore. Not long after I sat down in the living room, Alexander came out holding Isabella's hand. When she saw me, she instinctively pulled her hand back and asked a bit guiltily if I had seen her come out just now. I interrupted her, and just as I was about to leave, Alexander suddenly exclaimed, "It's so hot, Isabella. My tongue is almost blistering. Did your servant do this to me on purpose?" I hadn't had a chance to explain when Isabella angrily splashed the hangover soup on my face. The soup was cold. What I wanted to say was, when I looked up and saw Alexander's smirk and Isabella's furious expression, I felt very uncomfortable. I've already said I have nothing to do with him. Can you stop using such lowly tactics? At that moment, my daughter Sophia also started throwing a tantrum at me. You bad dad. How dare you harm Alexander's dad? I don't want you anymore. I really want to beat you up. Sophia suddenly grabbed the fruit bowl from the table and threw it at me. If I hadn't dodged, I would definitely have been hurt. You went too far. How dare you dodge? She grabbed my arm directly and bit me hard, making me feel even worse inside. Seeing my reaction, Alexander wore a smug smile. It wasn't until Isabella felt tired that the three of us returned to the bedroom together. I looked at the wound on my arm. I might have been reluctant in the past, but I no longer cared at all. After quickly tending to the wound, I hurriedly applied for an overseas visa, and I could leave in as little as 2 days. The next day, I received a notification from my bank card, and only then did I remember that today is my birthday. On my way to apply for the visa, I passed by a cake shop. I couldn't help but stop. Since I was a child, I have loved sweets, but I could never have them back then. As I grew up, in order to repay the debt from the surgery and take care of Isabella and her daughter, I worked hard just to make ends meet, let alone cake. Back then, Isabella always smiled and told me that she would buy me the biggest and most delicious cake in the world. But we no longer have a future. Sir, would you like to order a cake? The waitress's voice brought me back to reality as she pointed to the largest cake in the shop, which was taller than an adult by half a head. Do you like this? This was specially made by Miss Isabella for her husband, and there are no identical pieces. After saying that, she looked enviously to the side. Miss Isabella must really love her husband. I followed her gaze and saw Alexander holding Isabella with one hand and holding Sophia with the other, chatting and laughing like a family of 3 walking out. I was about to pretend I didn't see them, but sharp-eyed Sophia called out to me. She said, "Bad daddy, Are you trying to bully Daddy Alexander again? The waiter awkwardly glanced at me and then lowered his head to leave. Isabella, who was walking over, held onto Alexander, and upon hearing this, frowned slightly. She didn't even bother to explain and directly started scolding me. Are you following us? What do you plan to do? How come I never noticed you were so stingy before? To be honest, I was just passing by. Do you think I would believe you? Isabella said coldly. Can't this man just admit it straightforwardly? What about you? I looked at her and couldn't help but ask. Didn't you always say you were blind? Why don't you just admit it frankly? Isabella was clearly surprised. She didn't expect me, who had always complied, to contradict her, so she stopped pretending. The reason I acted indifferent is also because you lack the ability. My daughter Sophia has always hoped for a gentle and caring dad to be by our side to fulfill her wish. To make up for Sophia's regret, Alexander specially brought us to buy a cake. Some people are short-sighted. Not everyone likes to secretly play tricks like you do. Sophia looked at me with disdain in her eyes and even pinched her nose on purpose. You have no money and aren't clean at all. You're not my dad. I only have one dad, Alexander. Hearing this, Alexander smiled, took out a coin from his pocket, and threw it in front of me, deliberately provoking me. Since I don't know how to deal with this, here you go. I held back my anger and kicked the coin on the ground angrily. Just then, Sophia rushed over, pointing at me and saying, You bad guy, Alexander. Dad kindly gave you a gift, and yet you still complain. A sharp pain hit me, and I instinctively leaned back. Sophia tried to kick me but ended up falling to the ground. Seeing this, Isabella immediately came over and slapped me, saying, What's wrong with you? How could you bully a child? Alexander chimed in, Sophia is your daughter. You're really going too far. Sophia looked at me crying, tears welling up in her eyes, and I suddenly felt really bad. So I quickly crouched down to comfort her, but unexpectedly, she slapped me back. He's not my dad. I'm fine getting hurt, but he bullied Alexander's dad, and that's not okay. I really hate him. I just want to hit him. She hit me really hard, and I wanted to dodge. Alexander seized the opportunity and kicked me. Seeing this, Isabella also joined in. It wasn't until they got tired and left that a nearby waiter dared to come over and hand me a tissue. That's when I noticed my face was covered in tears. When I got back from the hospital that evening, I found a cake in the living room. There was a small note on the cake that read, Dad, happy birthday. Although this cake isn't as big as that one, it's still quite exquisite. It suddenly reminded me of how Isabella and Sophia used to comfort me when they made me angry. My eyes are a bit misty. It's quite nice. At least this relationship still holds some dignity. But I just cut a small piece, and before I could taste it, someone knocked it to the ground. This is really too much. How dare you touch the cake I made for Alexander? Isabella was furious, her face flushed, and she looked sadly at the part one had dug out. Then she kicked the cake on the ground hard and glared at me, asking, Why are you acting like a fool who's never seen a cake? Do you know what it means to take something without asking? That's stealing. This is really unfair. Don't you just want to eat it? Pick it up and eat it. I was stunned. Just then, I felt a sharp pain. Looking down, I realized it was Sophia stabbing my leg with a knife, her face full of anger. You little sneak. You don't deserve to eat Alexander's cake. At that moment, I seemed to see my past life, and Sophia was the one who made me suffer. A sudden chill ran down my back. At this time, Alexander arrived. He noticed the cake was gone, and tears welled up in his eyes. He took Isabella's hand and said, Isabella, does your family not like me? That cake was my favorite. Upon hearing this, Sophia kicked me and told me to apologize to Alexander's dad. Actually, I felt I was not in the wrong. I took a deep breath, turned to leave, but unexpectedly, Isabella had someone stop me. You are so thoughtless, breaking someone else's things and acting fearless. I must teach you a good lesson today. You guys, tie him up right at my bedroom door. At that moment, I felt dizzy and couldn't say anything, like a dog tied up at the bedroom door, until I heard Alexander's voice from inside the bedroom. Isabella, this cream is so white and smooth. It's delicious. Then I realized that Isabella's lesson was to make me listen to their gossip. I no longer cared. I confirmed that the departure time is in 20 hours, but I collapsed. I felt very unwell, completely drained of energy. In my haze, it seemed like Sophia entered my room. She said she was there to bring me medicine. I didn't want to drink it, and she cried by my bedside, saying, Daddy, Mommy said if I don't give you a shot, she won't want me anymore. Sophia doesn't want to be a child without a mother. Daddy, you won't blame me, right? I secretly made you the medicine while mommy wasn't watching. Daddy, please drink it while it's hot. I couldn't say a word. She was unwilling to speak. After a standoff, Sophia revealed her true intention. She forcibly opened my mouth and stuffed the medicine in. The situation was critical, and I desperately broke the bowl, making a noise. Sophia was a bit flustered. She hurriedly cursed at me and then ran out, wanting to escape. I quickly rolled off the bed and crawled to the door, seeing the nanny, silently shouting in my heart, "Save me." When I woke up again, I had already had my stomach pumped and narrowly escaped a disaster. I also saw Isabella. This is the first time I've seen guilt on her face. Sophia is still so young, so what now? I will make her understand. I'll have her apologize to you later. You don't need to take it too seriously. After all, there's no need to nitpick with a child. After she finished speaking, she turned and left. I felt a wave of oppression. After she left, I managed to sit in the wheelchair and wanted to take a stroll. But I unexpectedly overheard Isabella and Alexander talking around the corner of the hallway. He's really lucky to have been saved. Thankfully, he didn't die. I don't want Sophia to carry the label of a murderer. Don't forget she is your daughter too. At that moment, I felt completely drained. Leaning against the wall and sitting down on the floor, the last bit of warmth in my heart was completely extinguished. As I passed the trash can, I threw the ring I had been wearing on my ring finger into it. I barely propped myself up and limped to handle the discharge procedures. When I took a taxi home, my visa was ready as well. I took out the luggage I had prepared in advance and called Mr. Shun to say I was leaving now. When Isabella learned that I was discharged from the hospital and rushed home, she happened to hear my news on the broadcast, reporting an urgent news story about a serious car accident on the airport highway that resulted in 1 death and 1 injury. Upon confirmation, that person was named Wen. I took a boat to the United States, changed my identity, and then flew to Germany. I restarted the economics major that I had not continued after graduating from university, working part-time to earn money while preparing for the IELTS, and ultimately passed the entrance exam for Munich Business School successfully. While studying for my master's degree, my advisor recommended me to an internationally renowned financial company to help refine my thesis theory. As a result, I successfully completed my thesis proposal and independently published a paper. Later, I declined my advisor's invitation to continue my studies and decided to shift my focus to psychology research. My advisor, feeling helpless, had to write me a recommendation letter, which I submitted to the University of Munich to continue my studies in psychology. I am studying psychology, perhaps because I want to heal my past wounds. However, I also don't want to refuse my advisor's help. In fact, I truly cannot refuse it. After parting ways with that stubborn old man I had been with for 5 years, I started a new journey. Perhaps because I had a letter of recommendation, my trusted mentor was particularly enthusiastic towards me. Later, I realized that my first mentor was his father, and the letter I held criticized his single life in various ways. When I heard about this, I chose to remain silent, but I found that I never quite understood psychology. I could only regurgitate the theories from the books, while the actual situation was very different. My second mentor often quoted Nietzsche to advise me not to get too caught up in the pains of the past. I was very curious about how he came up with that, but just as he was about to speak, I stopped him. I knew he was going to use another Nietzsche quote to brush me off. I once doubted whether he was a psychologist or a philosopher. Although I still didn't fully grasp psychology, I gradually became more cheerful during my time with my second mentor. Now, I have found my old self, no longer obsessed with the past, and I look forward to a new beginning every day. My second mentor was very pleased with this and said I was now capable of being independent. I felt a bit confused, so I looked at him. He directly told me the reason. My father said I looked more like an old man on the verge of collapse than he did. Just as you wanted to switch to studying psychology, let me take you out. My expression was a bit complicated, but he still noticed. You can't really think that his letter is full of accusations against me, can you? Really? I didn't lie. He was eager to prove his innocence. At that moment, I really felt he resembled a psychologist, as none of my little expressions escaped his eyes. He suddenly patted my shoulder, his tone carrying a hint of sadness. Are you leaving? I nodded. It has been 8 years since I left this country. This year marks my 9th year away. People who drift away always hope to return home. Although I have been an orphan since childhood, I understand the meaning of this phrase. I'll return this to you. He handed me a mobile phone. It's the one I brought from my home country. I had intentionally thrown it away before to forget it, but now I calmly took it back. My father said that only a carpenter can truly feel a connection to a cold bench. I chuckled, realizing I had forgotten that I threw it into the trash can in my mentor's office, and unexpectedly, he picked it up. However, my mentor may have wanted to tell me this for a long time, but he never found the right moment and was worried that bringing up the past would upset me. When I returned to the business school, I went to say goodbye to my first mentor. Seeing me so cheerful, he smiled happily and patted my shoulder, almost knocking me over. When he learned that I was going back to my country, he felt a bit reluctant but still gave me a big stack of envelopes. I kept refusing him, but he just laughed. It wasn't until I saw the signatures on the envelopes that I realized these were all invitation letters from financial companies in Germany. The information I left behind is all here, while studying psychology at the University of Munich is more personal. So this information was all collected through my mentor. What eventually reached me was all filtered by him. When I saw that familiar smile on my mentor's face, I understood that he had selflessly helped me once again. My gratitude is just a simple hug, which is the most precious gift I can give him. So, I decided to temporarily postpone my plan to return home and join the company he recommended. I almost started working from the most basic position. In less than a month, I gained a bit of fame for my outstanding insight and earned the recognition of most of my colleagues. In my third month of employment, I received an evaluation invitation from the headquarters. When I had been employed for 5 months, I received an evaluation invitation from the headquarters. After that, I officially became the 9th employee to receive evaluation invitations and successfully passed them within 6 months of employment. From the 7th to the 9th month of employment, I mostly worked in the first-class cabin of airplanes. After 10 months of employment, the 3-month special assessment period ended, and I officially began working at the headquarters. Although I feel busy every day, it seems I quite enjoy it. A familiar colleague told me not to chase after the work from the previous day every day. At first, I didn't quite understand. Now I understand. I began to develop some special interests in my life. I started to work hard to relax myself and learn to enjoy the pleasures of life. I feel like my life has become colorful and enriching. Today, after finishing afternoon tea, when I returned to the office, I noticed my colleagues were looking at me differently. Before I could ask for details, I was taken to the top floor office by the HR department. When I returned to my office, I still found it hard to believe. According to the board's instructions, I will officially represent the company back home, starting with a period of study at the New York branch, essentially being directly assigned there. Once the cooperation contract is signed, I will immediately establish a direct branch in an inland city. At the same time, I will continue to hold my position at headquarters. If I achieve results within 3 years, I will be formally appointed as the regional manager for the domestic market, gradually taking full responsibility for affairs in the Asia-Pacific region, with the opportunity to enter the board of directors at headquarters. I haven't fully processed all the information yet. My assistant Emily came over with coffee and immediately congratulated me. I snapped back to reality, gulped down my coffee, and made a joke. I feel like you came here right away to see me make a fool of myself. She is my junior, and she joined after I had been under my mentor for 3 years. Although it took me 4 years to complete my studies and she only took 1 more year than me, her abilities are equally outstanding, which is why my mentor recommended her to me. She smiled faintly. Manager when said she was joking. I looked at her and found she had no further reaction, so I let out a light sigh. The teacher once said I looked like an aging person, but Emily looks even more so. Actually, you could say she resembles a piece of wood. She has emotional reactions, but they are very subdued. The board gave me a spot, and I wanted to ask if you would like to continue being my assistant. In fact, with your ability, if you are willing. I hadn't finished speaking when her flat voice interrupted me. I looked at her expressionless face and couldn't tell for a moment whether she was speaking the truth or lying. Then let it be. I'll take that as your agreement. It was 10 years ago when I just got off the plane. With confusion in her eyes, her demeanor appeared somewhat fearful as she stared at the messages on her phone, listening to one phone call after another. What awaited her was impatience and scolding for her deceptions, even abuse and humiliation. Back at Isabella's house, Isabella never considered my feelings. She thought I existed solely to take care of her and Sophia, like a servant. Summon me when you need me, and let me disappear when you don't. But I always approached her with enthusiasm, yet received a cold response. I still worry about her. In the end, what I received was lying on the hospital bed, barely alive. Finally, I want to thank Father Shen for his help. My life has been free and comfortable over the past decade. 10 years ago, I left by ferry. There was a sense of despair in my eyes, yet also a hint of relief, as if I had shed a heavy burden. Now I am back on a plane. I am filled with hope for life and anticipation for the future. Compared to the cold Emily beside me, I feel more like a young person now. Not long after getting off the plane, I heard someone at the arrival gate calling my name. When you. As soon as I turned my head, the voice grew louder. Looking over, I saw Isabella with tears of joy streaming down her face. I just took a casual glance and then looked away, as if she were a stranger. The Emily beside me noticed my reaction and also saw Isabella, who kept calling my name. A hint of contemplation appeared in her eyes, and then she took a small step back to start organizing things for the accompanying personnel. Before long, the staff personally led us to the VIP lounge and prepared a special exit route. After getting in the car, I realized this was Emily's arrangement. However, since she is my assistant, she must have her reasons. All I need to do is trust and support her. Not long after the convoy left the garage, we were stopped by Isabella, who insisted that I get out of the car. Emily voluntarily got out to inquire about the situation. It turned out that Isabella didn't know which car I was in. She had been waiting for a long time without seeing me come out. She realized I took a special route, so she specifically stopped all cars at the intersection I would pass through. Should we drive her away? Emily's tone was questioning, but she had already decided to do so. I shook my head. She saw you when you got out of the car. At the airport, she already knew I was with you. She is the daughter of the Isabella family, which is one of our important clients in New York City. Emily nodded. I opened the car door and signaled the bodyguard to let Isabella go. She was about to rush over to hug me, but Emily blocked her. I signaled Emily to step aside, but this time she didn't listen to me. I let go of her hand, and only then did she take a step back. I turned to look at Isabella. It's been a long time, Miss Isabella. Her face was full of joy. It's really you. When you finally came back. Her eyes were a little red. If it weren't for the news mentioning your name, I would have really thought something happened to you. I'm sorry I didn't disappear as you hoped. Isabella's expression immediately became tense, and her tone became hurried. No, I never thought of hurting you. Please believe me, since I heard you were dead. No, I don't believe you're really dead. I've been wanting to find you, but I couldn't even find your contact information. When you finally came back. She reached out her hand wanting to touch me, but I stepped back and avoided her. Please mind your behavior, Mrs. Isabella. I spoke calmly, just as I would to an ordinary client. 10 years ago, the young master of the Alexander family married the young lady of the Isabella family, holding a grand wedding. Gossip stories about wealthy ladies are what little reporters love the most. Don't you think, Mrs. Isabella? No matter how frustrated Isabella looked, I still called the distracted Emily over to the car. It was only after I got in the car that I noticed Emily's cheeks had turned red for some unknown reason. I curiously reached out to touch her forehead. She jumped back like a startled rabbit, surprising me. I asked her what was wrong, if she was still adjusting to the time difference and feeling unwell. She lowered her head, her voice so soft it was almost inaudible. I'm fine. I withdrew my gaze with some suspicion, pondering what had just happened, and asked in disbelief, "Are you shy?" Emily's head drooped even lower. I couldn't help but laugh. As the convoy continued on, Isabella's figure slowly disappeared from the rearview mirror. The next day, the branch office held a small welcome party for me in the conference room. During the following time, I am very grateful for everyone's care. I don't want to say too many polite words. First of all, thank you all for your warmth. After returning to the country, many interpersonal relationships are essential. In an unfamiliar environment, even if you suddenly arrive here, you must know how to win everyone's heart. I suddenly realized that the psychology I studied is really helpful to me. However, I don't know if someone said something, but everyone has been particularly polite to me. Some brave colleagues, seeing that I had a good attitude, proactively asked me questions. Mr. Wen, did you really get promoted to work at headquarters in less than a year? I nodded, and everyone was surprised and began to discuss in low voices. So are you really going to become the regional general manager in the country? I paused, turned around, and asked, where did you hear that? The employee thought I agreed and excitedly began to explain. The previous news mentioned that the youngest regional general manager in history is about to return to the country, and it was you being reported. I didn't expect you to be so young. I will always follow in your footsteps. Before I could continue chatting with them, A strong scent of perfume wafted over with a figure. Isabella was especially dressed up, holding a beautiful gift box. I specifically found out that you were free today. This is a gift I prepared for you. I hope you like it. I have booked dinner nearby, and I'll pick you up after work. She looked at me with eyes full of expectation, as if confessing to me for the first time. In fact, we had never had any intersection before. The surrounding employees immediately lowered their heads and hurried away. I glanced at the gorgeous gift box in Isabella's hand, which almost seemed ready to be labeled gift. In the 5 years I accompanied her, she never gave me a single gift. Maybe she thought I wasn't worthy. In my previous life, she spent 3 whole days and nights confessing to Alexander on advertising screens all over the city to make him happy. She even spent 300 million to gain the official naming rights of a star in Alexander's name. That was the first time I heard that you could name a star. I coldly responded, Isabella, our relationship is over. Let's not have dinner. Promise me. Okay, Isabella pleaded, showing no sign of giving up. She thought that, like before, a little display of weakness would make me wag my tail and listen to her like a good dog. Before, I made mistakes, and I'm truly sorry. Can you give me another chance to make amends? Didn't you say before that you've lived in the South your whole life, never seen snow, and wanted to learn to ski? I can build you a ski resort so you can not only learn to ski but also see snow every day. Is that okay? Do you like this kind of life? She painted a picture of the beautiful life she envisioned and handed me a gift box. But I actually didn't want to accept it. The gift box fell to the ground, and a crystal ball depicting a cabin in the snow rolled out. I could no longer hide the disgust on my face. Isabella, I'll say it again, we have no relationship anymore. Leave your ski resort crystal ball and all the other gifts for Alexander. Isabella's expression instantly stiffened, like a volcano about to erupt, but was quickly suppressed by a wave of cold words. I thought this would be a valuable gift, but I didn't expect that this so-called prestigious lady from the Alexander family couldn't even produce a decent gift. Is this the style of New York's elite families? Emily walked slowly over to me in high heels. She was already taller than Isabella, and with the high heels, she was nearly as tall as I was. She didn't lower her head. Instead, she coldly stared at Isabella, her tone and expression filled with disdain. Emily glanced at me, and after making eye contact, she immediately turned her head away. I raised an eyebrow, noticing that although her face didn't turn red, her ears were almost flushed. My dad said he wants to see you today, at my house. Emily spoke again. I blinked, suddenly unsure if this was real, or if Emily was just making up an excuse for me. But my mouth reacted first. Yes. Isabella was very angry, her face looking quite bad. She pointed at Emily, her tone filled with suppressed anger. Is it because of her that you haven't contacted me for the past 10 years? I hadn't even had the chance to speak when Emily unexpectedly slapped Isabella. If you don't understand etiquette, let me remind you not to casually accuse others. Also, Wenyu has obtained a degree from MBS. He is also my classmate and senior. Insulting him is insulting me. Wenyu is now a senior executive at DB Company and will be responsible for the entire Asia-Pacific region in the future, as well as being a member of the company's headquarters board. I'm really lucky that he can appreciate me. As for you, I've looked into you carefully. Emily's gaze seems to see through Isabella's heart. You're just an average person. When you are not needed, everyone will abandon you. Only after losing something do we begin to realize its value. I've never met someone like you before. That kind of casual love of yours is better suited for someone who's already looking for you. Isabella has never experienced anything like this in her life. It feels like she's being suffocated by harsh criticism, without even a chance to retort. She shouted angrily, "Do you really think you are someone important? It's not your place to intervene in my relationship with Wenyu. Wenyu, have you forgotten about Sophia? She hasn't had a father for 10 years. Wenyu, are you really that cold and heartless?" Seeing Isabella so desperate makes me feel uncomfortable. You know better than I do who her child is. A hint of unease appeared on Isabella's face. No, I was just lying to Alexander. Wenyu, believe me, Sophia is really your child. I've already lost my patience with her. Everything you say is a lie. I don't want to argue with you anymore. It's pointless. I have already called the company's security. I didn't expect that Isabella's matter isn't over yet. Alexander and Sophia also came to find me. As soon as Alexander saw me, he charged over aggressively, but was easily stopped by the security. He could only hold back and yell, "Wenyu, how dare you come back? I warn you, Isabella is the lady of the Alexander family. If you understand, Stay away. I actually admire Alexander and Isabella. As a couple, they really can't see the situation and only know how to get angry. Sophia frowned and kicked Alexander, just like how he used to kick me. Shutting him up, I didn't want to say much, just gave security a look and prepared to take Emily away. Sophia reached out to stop me, still acting self-righteous. Now she's almost 15, and her expression is starting to resemble Alexander's. Come back with me. I specially prepared a big cake just for you, and I won't let anyone else touch it. I suddenly find this quite funny. Ignoring the different looks around us, I walked into the elevator with Emily. The moment the elevator doors closed, the annoying noise finally quieted down. I felt a bit embarrassed and apologized to Emily. Sorry, I made you laugh? Emily shook her head, indicating that it wasn't your fault. The elevator instantly fell silent. You just said your dad wants to meet me? I broke the silence. To my surprise, Emily's face clearly turned red. She looked down again, slightly embarrassed. Sorry, I investigated your matters without permission, and my dad found out. But actually, it's nothing. She just said she wanted to know you. Not that she wanted to meet you, and it wasn't at my house. After hearing that, I felt a bit relieved. It's fine. You are my assistant, and I have always trusted you. Then I looked at her. Can I always trust you? To my surprise, although Emily was blushing, she still made an effort to look at me. Of course, you can trust me forever. Then will you always tell me the truth? I asked. She nodded without hesitation. I held her hand and made her look at me. Do you like me? I had noticed that Emily was acting a bit unusual before. Maybe because of work, she paid special attention to my matters. But recently, she seems to be overly invested, especially when she first met Isabella. Her reaction revealed her true feelings. I want to take this opportunity to understand her thoughts. She has always been quite aloof and spoke very little. Aside from reporting in meetings, this is the first time I saw her talk so much at once. But Emily seemed to have no reaction. I felt a bit disappointed inside, but I tried to appear unaffected on the outside. It's okay. Even if she doesn't like me. I hadn't finished my words when Emily interrupted me directly. I like her. I quite like Senior when you. While studying in Germany, I noticed there was always a hint of sadness in Senior's eyes. Before I could get close, Senior had already left. I thought we would just be fleeting passers-by, but unexpectedly, Senior came back, and he has changed, becoming more cheerful and optimistic. I really want to get close to my Senior and understand him better. However, I heard from others that he came back to say goodbye. I didn't expect that the person the mentor recommended was actually you, Senior. I was happy about this for a long time. I could finally get to know my Senior well. She looked into my eyes seriously and clearly said, Senior, I love you. After saying that, she closed her eyes and kissed me directly. Although a bit nervous, it was full of emotion. I gently touched her lips with my finger, stopping her from saying what she wanted to next. I like you too. So, Emily and I quickly started dating. I spent money to prepare a special fireworks show for her, really hoping the whole world would know she is my girlfriend. Since I publicly confessed my feelings to Emily, Isabella has become a bit unstable, calling everyone she sees me wife. Alexander had no choice but to send her to a mental hospital. At the moment she left, Isabella still shouted at Sophia, Daughter, from now on you will be called Sophia, the regret of regret. You are Wenyu's daughter. Alexander tightly hugged the very sad Sophia, continuously comforting her. Forgive Daddy. Mommy's illness has become very serious. It's not Daddy's fault. But that night, Sophia quietly entered Alexander's room and did something very terrifying. When discovered, everyone saw Sophia holding a dissected kidney, constantly mumbling to herself. You took the kidney from Daddy. I helped Daddy get it back. But this matter has nothing to do with me anymore. According to the original plan, I soon left New York City and went to an inland city to host the opening ceremony of a subsidiary. Not long after, Emily and I also held a grand wedding. In less than 2 years, I exceeded expectations and successfully became the youngest regional general manager in the country. Then shortly after becoming the head of the Asia-Pacific region, I decided to resign. I have achieved my dream, and now I just want to dedicate the rest of my life to my wife.